Okay, here we are. It's 4:33, a little bit late. This is the special meeting called for discussion of the bids on the public safety building, fire, police, and emergency management. And what okay, so there's no town clerk here. Okay, I guess she decided not to bring.
She's here.
Yeah, but she was gonna bring Taylor in, but I guess she's not gonna come. So at the beginning of the meeting, I'll open the meeting as we usually do with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll join me for this special meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any board members have any announcements?
I'll let it wait until our main meeting.
Okay. The purpose of this meeting, if we should decide to go into executive session, would be to hold an executive session under VSA 313, section A, paragraph 1. And the first thing that we have to do in this regard is we have to have a full and complete discussion as to why an executive session would be required, and why the subject of this meeting would be, for instance, premature release of information that could be detrimental to the town's interest or any other party's interests, such as the bidders themselves. So in that regard, this is part of the open meeting discussion, and I'll open it, and also I'd like to indicate that John Paul Fagnan, our clerk of the works on the project, is here. Ed Clark is not.
He will be
But he will be coming.
joining us as soon as he can.
Okay. So what since John Paul had requested that we have this executive session, I would like to call on him to come to table if he would, so he can be closer to us.
Are we recording this, Don?
Pardon me?
Are we recording this?
Yes,
Okay.
this is part of the open session.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure you'd hit the button.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up there.
Okay,
Bill has given me very explicit
he's
instructions.
good at that.
I'm following them to the letter. Go ahead, John Paul, the floor is yours.
So I have information to present to the board with the team that we put together, the premature disclosure, which would put us at a disadvantage. So I needed to discuss that with the board in executive session with the team present and let the board determine how it wants to proceed with that information. My sense of it is that we're going to want to have public discussion about what we talk about in private, but I need to make you aware of some information that at least suggests the premature disclosure that would put us at a disadvantage as we go forward.
All right.
May I ask some questions? Okay. This is about the bids for the McKinley Avenue Fire Police facility, correct?
Correct.
All right. How many did we receive, the
4.
bids? We received 4. And our architect compared them.
Yes.
Okay. And were they all viable? They all met the specs?
Yes.
Okay. So of the 4, and this is open, who were the bidders and how much did they bid?
I don't have that. I mean, you should all have a packet with the 4 bids by now and the amounts and the comparison by Ed. Bill was going to pull that together for you and put it on your desk.
I'm not sure. Yes, okay, those are the long sheets. These are the long sheets that are on. it.
I don't have them. How many do you have? You might have.
Well,
all of
maybe,
ours.
maybe I have the bunch for everybody here. Let's see. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh.
So you want one to
Okay.
JP?
Yeah, but JP, you,
All right.
you want one?
Okay, well,
Okay, fine.
We have extras. You have extras? No.
I need one back.
I need one
Well,
back here.
Kurt,
You come back?
yeah,
There's plenty of them.
for
So-
Sharon.
Mr. Chair, by way of explanation, I'm trying to get as much of the information that we can that should be public on the record now, before there's a motion to go into executive session.
George.
And I think the fact that,
this
Four
doesn't
bids
become
came in.
public until you see it, as I understand.
well, we just saw it.
And you just saw it,
Yeah.
but this is, we have to discuss the juxtaposition of the bids and some developing issues, which would put us at a disadvantage otherwise.
Okay, so here, let me explain my position on what Mary's suggesting, because I agree with her, but the timing is up to the board, the timing of this. As you can see in your packet and your agenda for the meeting, I had Bill put on the agenda, I think it's D or E. He added it, the public building bids. And my intention obviously was to disclose the public building bids during our regular meeting. So that would take place at some time after 6 o'clock. So I don't have any objection to making full disclosure to the public of what the bids were, who the bidders were, and et cetera. And that particularly. But as far as the negotiation is concerned, I personally don't see any need or reason why we should disclose it now as opposed to 6:30. I mean, but that's up to the board. If you
Well,
want to disclose it in this open session before the executive session, I just think that if you're having an executive session to discuss negotiating postures, that it would probably be better to wait until after that to disclose the bids in our regular public meeting. Sharon?
I thought JP said he's asking to go into executive session because we're going to learn some stuff. But when we come out, you have said, then you are going to speak before the general public.
Yeah. and we
After
can a-
this,
a-
right
a-
after we
could-
go,
we can
so when
actually
he comes
record-
out of
play the
there,
recording.
he is going to open it up and talk to the public exactly what we come up with,
It's
which
fine with
seems
me.
fair to me.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, it's not, we're not.
We're not
gonna-
trying to be secret with any
That's
information.
right. We're not gonna not disclose. We just don't want to prematurely disclose.
That's
Well,
correct.
okay, here's where I'm coming from. The public bid process is just that. It's public. There's no reason that I know of why we shouldn't release the bids that came in. If we then have subsequent negotiations to do something about these bids, that's one thing. And then, but I think the townspeople deserve to know that the bids came in, and the reason why we're negotiating is because the bids are all over the amount that we wanted. So that's kind of why I think we should just read off, as we do when we receive bids on any other project. It's usually done, the chairman of the board opens the bids, reads them out loud, and then we send them off to the department head or the architect.
Yeah, that procedure has proven problematic in the past, which is why the standard of care now is for the architects to open the bid and present them to the public body at the public body's request.
Okay, but the architect isn't here.
Well, he's jammed up. He will be here in person or by Zoom,
Okay,
but I'm disclosing the bids to the board in my
Okay.
capacity as clerk of the works because Ed's not here.
and
It's 6 of one, half dozen the other, really, though. I
Okay.
mean, basically what we're gonna do here is we're gonna hear the bids, and then we're gonna go into executive session and discuss what we would discuss after if they were opened at the public meeting. So we're just doing this part first. I don't think it has any grave effect on it, how it's gonna turn out in the end. It's just, this gets us in a position to know what we may need to do once we present these to the public.
So it's my sense of the board that you would prefer that I read
I mean, if-
I open the bids and read the bids.
You can
in-
read the numbers.
in
I don't
public.
think it's gonna change anything. If we read them now or,
read them.
and then,
Is that all right?
and then once you do that, then I think it would be prudent that we go into executive
Okay.
session.
Yeah, almost after we find out a little more about the negotiations and why we're negotiating, because we need to fill in that little piece for the open meeting law. That's all,
So,
but the numbers.
This is considered opening the bids. And for the general public and those assembled here at the town hall, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The bidders on the public safety building were Breadloaf Corporation, Naylor and Breen Builders, Russell Construction Services,
No relation.
VMS Construction. And the bids were as follows. Breadloaf Corporation bid $5,525,000. Naylor and Breen Builders, Inc. bid $5,776,222. The Russell Construction Services bid $5,734,000. And BMS Construction bid $5,462,000. The apparent low bidder then is VMS Construction at $5,462,000 even.
What was our, I don't have last year's, what was our target
4241.
for two? Okay.
For-
Now, after opening the bids, did the architect convene the team from the town, including you and no? Okay. Were there some negotiations that occurred?
Maybe
And who was negotiating
not prepared to disclose that at this time.
who on behalf of the town was negotiating?
Ed Clark.
Okay. And the goal of the negotiations was,
Not prepared to disclose that at this time.
That's why we need an executive session.
That's.
trying to get as much in the record. It's not a smirky time, Don. I'm trying to sit
No, I'm not.
ass under the open meeting law.
I'm
All right?
I'm under the impression that anytime you were negotiating with anyone on behalf of the town, that you do not disclose information because it puts the town at a disadvantage.
We don't
That-
know that, and I haven't asked that question yet.
Well, you're asking questions about negotiations.
That's right. I'm trying to get enough so that we comply with the open meeting law before we go into executive session. Can you tell us, JP, why you're not telling us? You're not prepared to answer the questions in open meeting.
Because I believe until you've heard the information I need to present, there may be a substantial likelihood that you'll be at a disadvantage going forward in your negotiations.
That the town will be at a disadvantage.
Correct.
Okay. And the discussions are with one or more of the bidders?
Not prepared to disclose that.
Did it involve the specific terms of the contract or the bid?
I don't know.
Were all of the bidders given the opportunity to discuss?
No.
Those are the questions that I have.
Any other board members have questions of JP or me, or
That-
anyone?
No,
Um, I have the wording right here for the motion. I'm not prepared to make it. You make this motion right here. Substitute these words.
Which has potential public safety. building.
Potential contract.
Okay. Okay, I moved to go into the executive session. I moved to find the premature general public knowledge regarding potential contract with public safety building. Bidders would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing its negotiating strategy if discussed the proposed contract terms in public.
Motion's been made.
I'll second it.
Motion's been seconded. Any discussion on the motions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed. The vote will be 3-1. I abstain from the vote. Okay, so the motion passes and now you make this motion.
Okay. I move that we enter into executive session, discuss the town potential control with a bidder under the provision of Title I, Section 313A, 1A of the Vermont statutes.
Motion's made.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, what was that? To discuss our contract with anyone in particular?
Says move that we
one.
enter to discuss the town's potential contract with a bidder under the provisions of Title I, Section 1. Discussion on a motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
And the motion carries 3-1. I'll abstain. And we are now in
Can I
exec.
ask who's going to be included in the executive session?
The executive session will include the board members, the clerk of the works, and the architect, engineer, when they, if they should arrive and when they arrive.
And the chiefs. as well.
And at the board's discretion, the two chiefs,
No, everybody.
or
that's
the
the
3
team.
chiefs,
Four people.
4 chiefs. Wow. Got a full contingent.
I'm gonna close that door.
I'll get it,
Any
sure.
board objection to the chiefs attending? Okay. We are now in executive session here. Let me get this up and
If you
Sounds
wanna
good.
call 'em in.
Something to
okay.
start drawing on.
We are now out of executive session at 5:50. Yes,
That one says 550.
That says
That's the one that it
551.
sees. This one it can't see.
That says 551. That says 549. You average it out.
It's 550.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are now in open session. Are there any motions to be made?
Yes, so I'd like to move that we authorize our architect, Ed Clark, to meet with the apparent low bidder for the fire station to discuss the any cost savings that might be available to us in the price.
And that apparent low bidder would be,
BMS Construction.
Second,
a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And that's a 5-vote unanimous decision. Any other business to come before this
No, just
special
to
meeting?
thank Ed and JP very much.
Very much.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thought I'd work. in-
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Appreciate the opportunity.
you're not
Working
leaving
hard for you.
JP, are you?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted him in. Did you want him in for the next session or no?
Well,
It's gonna be a short session.
Okay, I just didn't know. I didn't know, JP.
We recess.
anything should we recess? Yeah, let's have a 10-minute recess and we'll convene our regular meeting at 6 o'clock.
You're lucky I can stay away from him.
Yeah. Oh, here's your.
Put the recording on.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yes,
Thank you.
any idea of time frame?
I couldn't tell you. I don't want to.
We're hand that.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the regular select board meeting this Tuesday, February 14th. We recessed our special meeting And so we're basically coming out of recess now, so we won't redo the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll just go into our meeting. The orders have all been approved. The first order of business is the approval of the select board minutes of January 31st. You have them in front of you.
Move we approve as printed.
Second,
Motion's been made to approve the minutes of January 31st as printed and seconded. Any discussion, additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes of January 31st? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
I,
I
Any
abstain.
opposed?
I abstained.
And Joel, did you abstain?
Yes.
Yes. I'll circulate these for signature. And while we're circulating the minutes for signature, I'll just recap the outcome of our executive session special meeting. Whoops. That right. We met in executive session to discuss the bids that were received on the public safety building, fire, police, and emergency management. And just to reiterate, for those of you that didn't tune into the special meeting, to make a public announcement that we received bids from 4 construction companies. The bids that we received were from Breadloaf Construction, Breadloaf Corporation. The bid amount was $5,525,000. The bid from Naylor and Breen Builders Incorporated was $5,776,222. The bid from Russell Construction Services was $5,734,000. And the bid from VMS Construction was $5,462,000. The apparent low bidder being VMS Construction. And following our executive session, a motion was made by Joe DiNardo, seconded by Sharon Russell, to
And unanimously voted.
and pardon me?
And
And
unanimously.
and
agreed to.
unanimously voted,
There you go.
yes. To to authorize Ed Clark, a representative of our engineering firm, our architectural firm, to discuss with VMS Corporation, the apparent low bidder, some possible cost savings. And that motion was approved unanimously. And so that's what happened following our executive session. Are there any announcements from board members?
yeah, the only thing I'd like to say is, March 7th is election day. And yes, I am running for the Board of Selectmen, but no, I will not be at the polls, and it's not because I don't want to be, but unfortunately I am having a shoulder replacement on the 3rd, so I am going to be out of commission. But please go out and vote. That's it,
Now, what shoulder is it, Chair?
my right shoulder.
Your right shoulder, so you see, I'm safe from any assaults from the right.
Don't bet on it.
You just hit you with the other one.
Anyways, yes, and we do encourage you all to come to town meeting and to vote. It's a democratic right that we all should exercise. Any other announcements from board members?
Just that the townwide celebration, we had set the date, which we now need to move, I think. We had set the date for August 26th, which was the last Saturday that the pool would be open, I understand. And we are not going to be able to use the DJ that we used last year if we have it on that date. So I would propose that we set the date for the townwide celebration the Saturday before, which is Saturday, August 19th. Does anybody, and I would so move. I'm not sure we have to do
Well,
that, but
is
let's,
everybody in concurrence with that? That being the case, just by acclamation, we will declare that August 19th will be the townwide celebration.
okay, is that, it's really Mike Rowe that would be the, okay,
I already gave him the glance.
It's all on Brett. I'm gonna give him a load of crap. but yeah.
okay, very good.
Does that have any trickle down effects to anybody else that you know? These
Um,
things have a way of,
They do.
But-
But I think most of the folks that would be affected are here. But I appreciate that. So I think we're okay because we're so far out.
Okay, any other announcements? What I would like to do now is, we reserve this particular time at our meeting for people who are not on the agenda. But, and I will, so anyone who is not on the agenda that would like to address the board, and Fred has said he does, so if you would come up, Fred.
Yeah, nothing serious. Got a call from Green Mountain Power the other day. They have cleared their right of way. They're waiting on the status of an Act 250. The coordinator determined that it was a, what's the term I'm looking for? Significant change. It needed a full-blown Act 250. Matty Perry is looking into it for Green Mountain Power. That's all I can tell you. I don't know the status. Bill, have you heard anything?
right, is that the pipeline right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have cleared everything in their 30-foot right of way. And the reason I'm here tonight is that they want to start in March, so that timber that is pulled to the edge of the road out there needs to be out of there. So the board talked about
Oh, yeah.
putting it out for bid and whatever. I'm not going to get involved in that. It's your
Do you
baby.
have a list of what it is?
No, it'd be easy enough to get.
Okay.
Um,
My suggestion was that is we post it on the town website and see if anyone's interested in purchasing it. If nobody responds, I think we have a backup plan.
Okay, well, Don Terrio, his son lives right there at the beginning of the road. Most of the pine seems to be in his dooryard next to his portable sawmill to make siding for his barn that's going up there. I'm not going to get into that, just making a comment, but there is some oak, there is some firewood, there's black cherry or two.
So nobody's taken it, or they cut it and left it? Is that,
cut it.
I know you
Well,
talked to me about this a while back.
They're town trees.
Right,
Green Mountain Power has the right to maintain and build that pipeline in a 60-foot right of way. So they started at the middle of the pipe and came out toward the road 30 feet. That's all cut and it's in several piles. It's log length.
they're very much there. I mean, is it,
You could
there a log
probably
truck full?
you could probably put it on a log truck without any trouble at all.
So it's up to us to do something with it.
Yeah, so would you be willing to do a list and have Bill
I
post it
can
on that?
run over.
Thank you.
Well, I gotta get truck service in the morning, state inspections, but I can run over and get a list of Bill
Okay, thank you.
by Friday Friday. Without any trouble at all.
That's where I say thank you for your volunteer efforts on behalf of the town.
And Don did offer to, if you didn't want to do anything with it, he offered to make it disappear, so.
Don, this Don
Terry-
here?
No, Don Terrio.
Oh, okay, okay. I know there was some interest among other folks involved with the town, so I thought the fairest way is just to post it up there.
My days of disappearing logs are long gone.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, thank you, Fred.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Fred.
Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
And our part in the Act 250 process is probably just to sign as the landowner.
As far as I know, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Matty Perry was dealing with Act 250.
Yeah.
Don did say that if it didn't come in a timely fashion, they'd just have to work within the right of way.
Okay,
And west of is it Grover? No, it's not Grover. What is it? Sanborn. West of Sanborn Place. down on the school, they are going to do it all within the within the 60
Okay.
foot right away. So, up on the east of the Sanborn, it would be a lot more difficult because north of the pipeline down over a bank, and they won't be able to work either side of the pipeline, but, he said if they have to, they'll just do it within the 30 foot right away.
Good. Okay, at this time, without objection from the board, I'd like to, out of courtesy, Carol Driscoll is here from the carving studio on that very, very interesting proposal that we had in front of us, and I would like to invite her up. Good evening, Carol. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So this is our 14th year of hosting a stone bench project with local teens between 13 and 19 years old. First one was in 2009, and here we are. With the exception of 2020, we did every year. A lot of the kids do not have any experience. So the teacher is from the Boston area, but originally from Argentina. And she has taught both in Peru, where the program started, and also here for 13 years. And she really works to have them become a team. And most of them, some of them know each other, some of them return every year for 2 to 3 years at a time. And really take a leadership role if they are returning. So each one of the benches is unique. They talk as a group, do some sketching, what's important to Vermont, and they come up with some symbols. From the symbols, they're shown all the other benches, the finished benches, and some of the working shots. And because there's several components, there's the top, the seats, sometimes there's 2 tops, or 3 legs. You know, it depends on the size of the group. So with 10 kids, we can do more complicated piece, but they all seem to finish within that 10-day period. We ask for a contribution. We raise the money so it doesn't cost the youth anything or their families. But we do ask for contribution from the town. It doesn't have to be, it's not mandatory, but from $0 to $1,000 is what we've gotten for all of these. And other funders are the United Way, Vermont Community Foundation, Vermont Arts Council, and then a bunch of individual donors contribute for approximately $12,000. The stone is imported from India. There are Indiana, Indiana limestone. And it's just, we use that instead of the marble because it's a little softer, it's a little less prone to cracking, and the kids pick it up pretty easily. After they've done the drawings, they'll do the sketches and models. So you have a lot of the working models that they had to reference during the carving. They're set up on the different components of the bench, and then they get together and talk about the final design. And so after day 3, they're working with tools to start roughing it out. And a lot of times it's intuitive, but some of them really stand out because they can see it in 3 dimensions. They're taking away all the extra, and that ends up being kind of a fun thing to see who thinks that way, because it's not so easy. Most of us add when we're using clay or something to represent a form that we're familiar with. So some of them, this one was outside the Pulteney pool, Pulteney Co-op. And so it was all vegetables. So wherever, if they know ahead of time, they try to integrate that imagery into the design of the bench. Fairhaven had a light and dark. The kids were really wrestling with some difficult issues. So here you have like a gargoyle on one end of the bench, and you have a dove on the other, and then there's the wings. So it's a little bit abstracted, but the kids definitely are the ones that generate the imagery that comes out of it. Vermont underwater, that was all the shellfish and stuff that they had. Last year it went to Wallingford. I don't know if anybody has seen it, but it's a kind of a dragon and a book with a dragon coming out of the book. So it's the pages of the book, and they're really innovative and beautiful. They have a name for all the kids that participated in it and the funders. We usually have a closing ceremony at the carving studio, which is just ice cream cake and family members, and then a dedication. I just heard you say something about the townwide day.
Yeah.
We did one in Chittenden, and it was incredibly well attended, and the kids were, happy to speak about what their experience was. So it's a pretty exciting project. We're hoping to get at least Rutland County done. And we have one that's in Middlebury, that's in Addison County, which is a train, a 3-part train and baggage underneath for the feet.
I noticed you have different towns down there.
Uh-huh.
So if Rutland Town did it, would that be the only town that was being done
Yeah, for this year.
for this year?
Yeah, so we do
Oh,
one a year.
You do one,
So
and
it's
you're-
really in that window where the kids
and
are.
you're asking us.
Yes.
That's special. I think that's special.
So I would move that we approve and accept a bench from the Stone Bench Project and contribute $1,000 from our miscellaneous expense line.
Second.
It's great. The other thing that's helpful for us is we can load it onto a pickup truck, but we don't have anything to take it off.
We have this really great highway crew.
Yeah. And he's got a forklift too on that thing, so
Yeah, we usually send somebody to make sure it's set up the way that.
Right.
there was some discussion previously about doing 2 of these,
Well,
of having them do 2.
we haven't decided where we're gonna put it, and that's something we need to kind of chew on a little bit.
And the other thing is the students, like I said, we can do 10, we can accommodate 10 kids. But sometimes we'll run it with 5 or 6. So it's
So
just,
I think one is plenty.
Yeah, we'll
You do?
one.
it's a little
Yes.
hard. It's a
Okay.
big commitment
Okay.
for the kids.
Interesting.
Where would you put it? Northwood?
I would like to see it at Northwood.
Frontier, and there's the Pocket Park. Those are 3 that I can think of. There's also Dewey, so there's 4
Could always move it around too if we.
little rollers.
This probably weighs a few pounds.
The
Pick it up,
top
put it
part is
down.
700 pounds.
Okay.
And the 2 feet are about 350.
Have
Wow.
time to argue about that.
Yeah.
When it's done, we'll figure. it
But
out.
there is a motion on the floor
Second.
and a second for $1,000 donation to the carving studio and thanking them profusely for choosing us to do their project. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Because it's coming here. Would we be, or will they incorporate something unique to Rutland Town on it?
If
Of
you,
our choosing or something they could do?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, we let them sort of figure out, but we give the little bit of details of where it's going if we know. Sometimes we
Okay.
don't know. So.
The seal's a little too complicated.
Let's say a bunch of donuts.
Well, no, the seal is what I was thinking, a rough draft of that seal.
Oh, that would be nice, Joey. Yeah.
But that might be something you'd want to look.
Yeah, no, just pass it along and I'll present it to
That'd just be
the,
kind of neat.
to the teacher and she can give us some feedback.
There's no lack of ideas in this. That.
And the kids have their own too. really,
Right, so that's good.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? If you're ready for the question, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's a motion. And when do you need the money?
Yesterday.
No, it can be right up until, it's June 28th, I think it starts, and I have applications that I can drop off.
Okay,
If you know any kids that would be interested, but
yes.
you know, right up until the start date, we're fine.
Okay.
Age group for the participants?
Teens. We have had 2 12-year-olds. One was
Mostly high school kids.
mostly mature, the other one was not.
You're looking at high school.
nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave, do you have anything that you would want to put on an easel?
Yeah.
We've got Ed. Ed was our easel for the first meeting.
Yeah.
That's right. He did really well.
Fancy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
again,
Welcome.
Carol.
Thank you.
Our first department head report will be from Dave Sears, our town road commissioner. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, all. Not a whole lot. Spent quite a bit of time in the last few weeks plowing, salting, doing the winter thing. And then putting trucks back together when they come apart because it's an awful hard business. Salt budget right now is spent, but the building is full, so let's ride it out. We had a committee meeting yesterday, kind of went over some paving stuff. The class 2 state highway grant just came out the first part of the month, so we're putting some stuff together to see if we can get some grant money for paving. And we discussed a lot of that yesterday.
Maybe this would be a good time to Joe, you want to
I
give a
can
report
recap. I
on
mean,
the,
everything's here.
on that
uh,
meeting?
Yeah, we discussed Dave's proposed plan for paving for this year. Travis Terrace, Barrett Hill, Flory Heights, or some of the East Pittsford Road. And the grant that Dave is talking about would also pertain to East Pittsford Road if we were successful there. There was a little discussion at the beginning of this meeting here tonight between some of us about the reclaiming, and at this point, Dave hasn't proposed any. The aftermath of reclaiming is a good way for roads with substandard bases to get some better material, but it fluffs the road up so bad the driveway grading afterwards and all of that becomes quite a nightmare. So that is still out there, and we discussed that yesterday. We talked about the possibility of authorizing Dave after town meeting, and if his budget is successfully passed, the board to authorize him to do the looking process for his third person, and maybe be able to hire that person right off rather than waiting till July 1st. There will be some savings in this year's budget. The road commissioner's position and the number one position on the staff have extra monies in those, so we could do that. And also if authorizing Dave to start his weekend on call stuff. So those were things that will be pending given the outcome of March 7th voting. We discussed the CDL process and some options there. And then we talked a little bit about the sidewalk on Post Road, and there was some talk about incorporating some permanent speed signs there. And Bill brought up a grant opportunity that AARP is offering for permanent signage for speed or for crosswalks. So Bill will be working to see if we can do some of that. More information to come as we find out about it, because when that sidewalk is built, if we're going to put something there, it would have to be incorporated. And right now we're kind of shying away from that because of the limited amount of space for the sidewalk and everything that has to go there. So the idea is to have permanent speed signs up there that would indicate to the motoring public that they're driving too fast in front of the school. So we're working on that. And then the discussion of the class 4 section of Quarter Line Road. Dave gets numerous calls from Clarendon residents requesting that he take care of the town road better. And he refers them to the town of Clarendon. So one thing that we discussed, and this may come or it may not, is we have authorized or told Dave that these individuals should call the select board in Clarendon and tell them to request a meeting with the Rutland Towns Intermunicipal Committee to discuss that road. And one of the proposals that I made was that if the town of Clarendon wants to foot the bill to upgrade that road in Rutland Town to satisfy their residents, we might work with them. But at this point, the town is not going to expend the money to fix a road that has no real bearing on town residents. The folks want to come that way because it's shorter than to go the other way. And that is a class 4 road that is posted as not necessarily requiring winter maintenance. So
Even though we do.
we do, but there's a significant amount of work there that would have to get done to get that to a class 3. Ditching, widening, base. There's going to be some infringing on what people think is their land. Kurt brought up that he believes, and I think he's right, and I think our town book will verify this, as that is a military right of way, as that is part of the Crown Point Road.
Yep, it
And that is a 4-rod road, which is really, it's like 64 feet of right of way there.
Big one.
64, 65 feet. So it's 32 feet, 32 and a half feet either side of the center line, and it would have to be surveyed so that the road is put into the best portion of that right of way. So there's a lot that has to be done. That road may be up right now all to one side of the right of way. So you don't know where it's going. So it's quite an involved project to do. what
Could be
needs-
quite a throughway when it's finished at that.
Well, that's
kind of
the
way.
other question. So we might want to visit with the residents up there, whether they want to make it a throughway.
You know, and then if you know, the other thing that I think Byron was besieged with for years is paving more of that.
Yep.
You know, and so it's the only dirt road in town. Dave has $3,000 in his budget to keep it graded and passable. And that's where we are. But if Clarendon wants to talk to us, then, you know, maybe if they get enough pressure, they might. But it's one of those that begins in one town and ends in another. Anyway, that's pretty much the gist of our meeting.
Sounds like a pretty productive meeting.
Something that is on, which Bill's gonna talk about, but the Killington Heights thing, I was asked to review it. I guess they put up some storage units several years ago and didn't get an Act 250 permit, and I was asked to review, see if it would have any impact on us as a highway department, and it does not. So when he gets to that point, nothing for me. And in between breaking and fixing everything, we kind of been rearranging the shop a little bit, kind of making it a little bit more user friendly instead of having everything all in a pile, kind of sorting it out and making sense of it. That's where we are until it snows again.
Any luck with getting the ventilation exhaust system?
I haven't. I've talked to several electricians and they say, oh yeah, no, I can do that. And then they don't ever call you back. So I'm still working on it. I was just talking to a guy just the other day.
Because I'm concerned about that, because that was built into that. It's the same problem we had with Center Fire Station. You know, when there's too much carbon monoxide or they run a diesel truck, these fans are supposed to come on, change the air, and nothing works. And I don't understand why it's so difficult to design and make work. But too many people, I think, involved in the construction and building process, and nobody wants to take claim for screwing up.
Was that
Everybody that I talked to
designed to
basically,
do that?
That's what it's supposed to do. When like, if you go in there and you run a chainsaw for a certain period of time or a small, if they wanted to work on a pump, they should be able to do it indoors in the winter, and those fans will come on and they'll change the air in there and keep it at a safe level. And it doesn't appear to be doing it.
2 weeks ago, Jason was pressure washing the Western Star. And I was out doing something. And I came back and the alarms were going off. They were beeping and everything. It was just because
It ain't working.
it wasn't working. And everybody I've talked to are like, oh yeah, no, we can fix that. It's just a sensor that's just not communicating, and it's just, and everybody's got the answer, but I can't get anybody to show up and do the
All
work.
right, well, at least, you know, that was just one of those nagging things.
Yeah,
And the other thing, the heating system, been okay?
yeah, working fine.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Thank you.
Any questions for Dave?
Nope.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Enjoy this spring weather.
That's not,
So, Mike Rowe, Town Recreation Director.
First, I wish you luck on your operation.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better and the pain is relieved.
Me too.
I don't have much. Basketball is wrapping up. This week we have a couple of boys 5-16s that will enter the Glodzic tournament over in West Rutland, and that is like the first couple weeks of March. We have a couple 3-4 teams that are entering the Rutland City tournament after vacation. Everything's going smoothly. The rink it's decent. And it's just one of those things. But big kudos to Chris and the guys for coming out and cleaning it and pumping water and doing everything to try, and it's not. So it's just one of those things. We'll get it, it's been working, but this year it just doesn't seem to want to be a nice rink. So not much I can do about it. Other than that, baseball signups are going to be coming up pretty soon. Bill is just on the finishing touches of our first ever online form registration, which should really streamline me trying to find the type of font that people use to write their emails in so that I write them in correctly. That's a challenge, and that'll just streamline everything. So thank you to Bill for putting that together, and hopefully that'll be up soon. Other than that, I can tell you I'll probably be mowing within 2 months if you're all kind of spring people, because it's almost that time to start thinking spring.
We're gonna get
So,
the snow then.
Joe, bite your
We're
tongue.
gonna get the snow then.
Joe, bite your tongue.
Gonna have
Bite your
spring
tongue,
now,
bite
snow
your
then,
tongue.
and then summer.
That's all right. We can move it with you.
Mother Nature is.
We'll plow the
undefeated.
field to mow
Mother
the field.
Nature's
How's
playing
that
games
sound?
this year.
Well, sugar snow, and you
Exactly.
can always expect it in March,
Um,
usually on town meeting day.
other than that, things are just kind of what they are for the winter season. So anybody have any questions for me? And that date is okay, that's.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever works. I just don't want to go it doesn't really matter, actually.
Yeah.
It just worked out nice that.
If we decided to put the bench up to Northwood, is there a place you have in mind?
I would probably put it, because we're gonna put in the swing set that we purchased in August and arrived in December. And we're gonna put it up in April. Right up there where the pickleball, I mean, we can move a bench and put a bench there, I think is a great spot
Okay.
for it. But that's up to you folks,
Yeah.
where you think it's best suited. I don't know if you want to have people's names on that maybe, I don't know, dedication to, I don't know, maybe there's some names you want to put on that if it goes there, that really inspired the park. It's just a thought, because there's nothing really like that up there about the people that got the
Yeah.
park going, and
That would
if
be
they're gonna
nice.
do
'cause
that, then
There
that
was
might
what
not
an
be
initial group.
a
Carol
bad
Bernardo,
idea.
you,
Dave, so I mean, I
Yeah.
saw Dave was part of it, Seward was up there.
Yeah.
It might be a thought, if you're gonna ask her to do something like that and you're going to put it there, then why not honor the people that got that park to where it is? I think that's only.
Yep.
That's a nice tribute to them, because there's nothing up there for anybody about that.
Well, there sort of is, because the whole thing is dedicated to Dick Del Bianco.
Well, that's over there.
Okay,
I'm talking up at Northwood.
yeah, no, but isn't there also a dedication plaque at Northwood?
No,
Never was
everything
one done.
for Dick
Really?
is down is at
Was
Dewey.
part of that original team?
Huh?
Was Dick part of that original team? No.
Okay, well,
I just
good
think it might be a good
suggestion.
idea, and yes, we
Yeah.
could find a spot for it, but I would,
Names aren't too hard to engrave either.
but I think that might be a nice thing for
That
the
would be
families
nice.
and people that got that up and running. I
I
think
think
that would be a
that's
nice thing.
They worked hard.
And it's
They
kind of
didn't have
giving us a
much to work
direction as
with.
to where to go with it.
Yeah, really.
And that's one of the spots, where people, it's the only pool we got. So everybody that's, the town folks are more likely to go there than
Right.
anywhere else.
I would say up in the parking lot by the
Right,
tennis
but no,
courts.
but I mean, in
Yeah.
that area,
Yeah.
Yes, that's
people
right.
could
Well, There's
see it.
tons of people that go in that park, so.
Yep.
Just a thought, if
So
you're,
we can have
We made two decisions here.
townwide celebration, be cool.
we get dedicated then as well. yeah.
Have we made two decisions here?
that we've had two.
Well,
Well, no, don't just mull it over. It's just, it's a.
Oh,
suggestion. There
the
are other
first
places
decision,
that are-
Mike, was that we hadn't decided where we were gonna put the bench, so if
Well,
you know.
you can still talk about it. I
You're
just threw
right,
that
Joe.
out there.
I like that spot.
I did too, Joey.
And that would have been my first choice.
I was gonna ask the planning commission because they've been working on Park at Park, and I was gonna ask the folks who were in town hall because this is another
Yes.
possible
Do
location,
that,
so.
do that.
Yeah, I
I
just
just threw,
wanted-
I threw my 2
We don't
cents
have to
in.
do anything until.
No, you
June,
don't. You
so-
have plenty of time. But if you are gonna go to a certain spot, maybe you might want to think about engraving names where that spot is going, where it's going to that spot, just as a dedication plaque as well.
You're
Thank
not
you,
gonna move
Mike.
this thing around.
No,
When it lights, it's there. It's about a half a ton of
Yeah, it's not going
limestone
anywhere.
marble, soft marble.
Loader and a strap will fix that pretty quick.
Yeah, we
You
don't wanna
move
break it
anything,
either.
you move anything.
Don't wanna break it.
Well, you know, I really appreciate that, Mike, because it's always been a sore spot with me that those people that put in a lot of time and a lot of effort as volunteers when there was nothing there but just green grass, never got recognized. And, you know, I know those people and they're really good people and they deserve to be recognized. So that'd be a good way to do it.
2 for 1 there if you
Yeah.
do that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a thought and a suggestion. And if you choose to go somewhere else, maybe we even, well, we don't, we find a place to put some type of a
yeah,
celebration, whether we buy a bench and do that or
We gotta do some-
or have one made you know, whatever. I mean, I think it's appropriate. So I think we have enough resources that we could afford to do something like that.
okay.
I like
Good
the
idea.
thinking anyways.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Did Chris abandon us? He said he was going to, but I'm not sure he did or not.
Good for him.
Alright. He's, Chris, you,
Oh, you're not there.
no, you're not on. Well, Chris Clark said he didn't have much to report tonight anyway, which is a good thing because that means we have no fires and
Mm,
Quiet couple days.
Marcia Chaffee, our town lister. You with us this evening, Marcia?
I am.
Good evening
Good evening.
and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to all of you.
Thank you.
Did you buy her
So-
flowers?
yeah, Don. You taking her out to dinner tonight, Don?
Bringing candy home to her.
Dinner.
Honest to God, she depends on us to buy you your candy,
Hold
Marcia.
out for dinner, Marcia.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right. We had dinner this afternoon. We had some ribeye steaks before
As you
Don
can
came
see.
to. What's that?
Said, as you can see, dear, I'm outvoted usually.
okay.
This-
Well,
well.
anyway, let's get down to business here. These past couple of weeks have been extremely frustrating for listers in not only Rutland town, but in very many communities in the state of Vermont. The Ways and Means Committee have been holding hearings. There is not yet a bill that has been presented to the House, but there have been hearings on reappraisal and homestead declarations. Reappraisal, they have suggested that we go either statewide, countywide, school district, and also a way to do away with the CLA, but they haven't come up with a formula to do away with the CLA. The other thing is homestead declarations. They want to categorize homestead declarations. Or I'm sorry, I mean non-homestead declarations with a litany of different categories that would make the job of clerk and lister unmanageable. The they want to put different categories on the tax bill for non-homestead, declaring whether they're camps or homes with no heating, or camps with heating, and a list of declarations that really don't make any sense.
Therefore,
Therefore, it's been a nightmare listening to the litany of committee meetings that have been frustrating to not only listers, but to all of our district advisors as well. I met with Christy Harris yesterday, Christy Wright yesterday, and she is very, very frustrated as to what's going on in the Ways and Means Committee meetings. They really don't know what we're going through as listers and what's going on with reappraisal for the entire state of Vermont. We have 161 towns that have to reappraise. We cannot get reappraisal commitments from reappraisal committees. So we are out 4 to 5 years to be able to do reappraisals.
Can I ask?
well, hopefully they'll come up with a legislative solution to it, but I wanted to ask Carrie, since she's here, how many spaces do we have left on our tax bill forms?
No, there's nothing open that we can fill, but we can add to. There's 2 big blocks at the top of our tax bill that are designated for the assessment under either homestead or non-homestead. I'm thinking the category code or whatever they decide to use for the non-homestead, which that's what she's referring to, probably it's gonna go in there.
I'm just,
Oh,
yeah, I was just wondering whether there's enough room if you, they're talking at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 different subcategories of non-homestead.
I know.
I don't know why, but they are.
Or it was
There's
pretty-
some non-homesteads that are airports or that have air landing facilities for a helicopter, outbuildings, et cetera, camps with heat or non-heat. And they've got all these subcategories, but you know, that's not going to be an easy task for clerks across the state.
all I can fathom from my point of view is like the code that they use, like in parentheses next to the assessment. That's all I could think that would be. But it brings up a lot of other questions because she's talking about what's happening in the lister world, and that includes the new program that they're using too, which also is going to affect me in generating the tax bills. There's just so many changes. It feels like, from my point of view, happening in her world that aren't being clear to the listers. And how is it going to be clear to the clerk that has to then generate?
Yeah. Can I
Well,
ask a question, please?
Yeah, Mary,
So this is Marcia and Carrie. Is the League of Cities and Towns weighing in on this and trying to bring some common sense to it?
Yes, absolutely. Karen has
Okay.
been on all of the committee meetings, and she has been in our corner for all of
Okay.
this. They're trying to put all the onus on the listers to determine any of these classifications. there is no way that we can go out and inspect every property or everything to determine what classification this would come onto.
Has the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, they have testimony from the Clerks Association in that committee? Did you hear any?
I haven't seen anything from the Clerks Association. It's only been, the testimony from the Ways and Means Committee.
Just committee members, huh?
Correct.
Well, it isn't going to happen in time for this year's taxes, so it's something that they would be talking about for the following year, but it does affect whether we're going to have to go out for townwide reappraisal and
That could be
when.
up to 4 years away
Yeah, sounds it.
because there's
Yeah,
only so
there's-
many appraisers and.
Well, and they're also looking at what type of reappraisals are going to be going on in Vermont, whether it's going to be statewide, countywide, school district wide.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of ways that they want to do reappraisals.
It'll certainly have to be done on a more global scale somehow or other, because there's no way it can be done individually with 168 towns. There's not enough. There's not enough resources in terms of appraisers to do that in a reasonable time frame. And we're 4 years out already, and that's just the start of it. So it would be 6, 7, 8, 9 years at least before they could all be done. Okay, well,
Wait and see.
yeah,
Makes it tough for the clerk and the listers to do anything because they don't what direction they're going.
I've asked our representatives, all three of them, to make some inquiries and to get back to us with three things. Well, 2 or 3 things. First of all, is it a bill? Does it have a bill request into legislative council? Or is it just a proposal? Usually they don't discuss these things unless they have a bill number, but not ours.
No,
Sometimes
this
they'll,
is not a bill. This is only a committee hearing, which is
so,
23
the second-
0629.
yeah, I've never heard of those. I've never heard of that kind of a designation. Those numbers don't mean anything to me because usually it's HR, whatever, House of Representatives
Yeah,
number,
no.
whatever.
They
And
haven't
it
got
wouldn't
there yet.
get any consideration to be brought to the floor or to be voted on out of committee unless it has a bill number. That's number one. Number two, I've asked them to find out who's sponsoring this and whether it's a serious proposal or whether it's a courtesy proposal, because many times that's what happens. And hopefully we can get some answers as to that and also the appraisal process, or what process they're going to use to make a decision on this appraisal and when. So hopefully we'll get some answers from our 3 House of Representatives members that represent us.
Well, you have Marcion. Should we do this one?
I didn't-
This is the certificate for the,
Is that in the packet, Joe?
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's a
didn't,
grand
Yeah.
list signature page,
what's the
letter D
D?
and new business letter D. I just figured, well, Marcia's on, if she.
Yeah.
it's just something we need to
Okay.
sign, and I don't know if we need a motion to sign this and move forward.
Okay, what,
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for, Marcia?
Yeah,
We need
this,
to make
Yeah,
a
that's
motion
the
and sign
form
this.
that we have no appeals pending, that we can sign off on that.
Do we
Form.
have any appeals or lawsuit pending?
No,
Okay,
none.
move we approve the certificate, and it looks like we each get to sign it.
is this in the pink sheet or do I just do mine?
I think I have one in there. Yeah, is it on the front there? Is it labeled on the front?
Letter D,
That's the internet.
you make motion. I'll second Mary's motion.
There's a municipal impact questionnaire.
No, that's
You put them in
different.
the
That's
same
not
order,
it.
Bill, and
One
just have to-
pager.
Okay, I got it. It's the last one.
Good job.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Yep.
To sign the letter of no appeals or suits pending for the the Lister Department. Any discussion on a motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved. I'll circulate this right now. 1, 2, 3.
I have this huge pile in that office. 2 years worth of paperwork.
Several piles.
Well, you know, I tape all this stuff at home and I don't throw nothing away.
I pretend that I sort it.
Yeah. Boy. This is good. I can recycle.
You have to
tonight.
mute your microphones if you're gonna have these side discussions.
Fine.
No, no, it's just a pile of recycling in my office.
Is that it, Marcia?
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Well,
Marcia.
thank you very much. And again, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
Flowers and candy to appear at a later date,
yeah, right.
and dinner for my cohort over here. who's coerced me.
So when are you taking her out to dinner? Don't just.
Whenever she wants.
Marcia, come up with a date,
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Sharon.
because it'll go on record here. It's on the book.
I'm sure.
Sure goes in the minute.
Yeah.
Barbara, are you taking all this in intently?
Oh, yeah, all of it.
Very good. Well, happy Valentine's Day to you and welcome to the meeting.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'll start with, I think some encouraging news about the Pocket Park. I kind of go back and forth on that one. But I was notified by the consultant who's working for GMP in the relicensing process, that there was some back and forth with FERC, the federal government, in December. They had a couple of questions, and they're thinking that these questions might be the tail end of the process. The questions, they wanted more details on the parcel. And in GMP's answer to that, they indicated that, you know, they were working with the town and that they were going to do either an easement or a lease with the town for this Pocket Park parcel. So that seems to be on track. Not sure which way we want to go, but it's on track. And the other question they had was about terrestrial and cultural resources. And GMP has committed to doing, it looks like, some federal studies, assessments, and some state assessments.
Okay, good.
And it's interesting that GMP in one of their answers on that second one, they use some of the language we came up with from the stakeholders, that they're going to be removing invasive species and planting, the hope was to plant some native species as well. And some of the proposed maintenance activities we listed, GMP said, that's proof that species, they're looking at some bats and maybe the monarch butterfly, among others, will not be adversely affected by the park. So it looks like they are kind of finishing up the process, thank goodness, and maybe we can move on from here.
That's good.
Other than that, the Joint Energy Committee met in the last week, and we'll be getting the energy survey results out. We'll wait for the March issue of the Circle and do some publicity on that. And the committee is interested in doing some sort of events or presentations at the townwide celebration that concern energy. The other thing is on your agenda, I don't know if you want to move it up. Bill has been doing some, he's been looking around town and noticing that there might be a short-term rental situation going on. Rentals that we don't, many more rentals than we may know of. And so haven't brought this to the planning commission yet. Thought we'd run it by you first. If you are interested in the planning commission looking at an ordinance on short-term rentals.
Bill,
There's-
did you get a draft ordinance or the ordinance from Killington?
It's in your packet.
That's in there.
It's in your packet, yeah.
See, that shows I haven't read the packet.
And that's,
That's
yeah.
item,
So how does that
The
affect
second
us?
page of C,
well,
and if you look at the first page of C, I think those are the ones that are
Yeah.
already.
let's look at,
Airbnbs.
let's take a look at that now. You don't mind if we do that right now, Barb?
Go right ahead, yeah.
No, I talked to Bill about this previously and he was doing a little, well, I don't know, he was doing a little scan and then he's found more and then he scanned and found a few more and to his surprise, there were a lot more here than he had thought or anybody else had noticed. And now these are Airbnbs and they're regulated by the state. And if they provide meals as a part of the proposal, then the rooms and meals tax is required. But here's the thing, the towns that are progressive in this thing and have seen it proliferate have decided that based on the amount of money that these things are bringing in, they're actually a business as opposed to a residence anymore. So if you have a residence, well, let's backtrack. Some of these are residences that have rooms that are available for bed Airbnb. Others are LLCs that are not occupied by any permanent residents, and they're totally farmed out to Airbnbs at a cost, at a rate of $1,700 per night. Because it's in the ski area. And there's one of them in the town, and I won't mention where it is. I just don't think it's appropriate, but there's one in the town that has 14 residents at any given time. And that's why they get $11, $12, $13, $1,400 per night. So they're not leasing a house out at $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500 per month to a family. They're leasing it out as a business to temporary people that are coming in on Airbnb, and they're getting $1,400 a night.
So they're subject to the. room and
So-
meals tax?
The towns that are on top of this situation have decided that they are going to, by policy or ordinance, they are going to design a form and they're going to charge a fee. And it's based on bedrooms, I believe, Bill, isn't it?
The ones I've seen are, yes.
Based on the number of bedrooms. So $100 a night for a one bedroom, or maybe $200 a night for a two bedroom. $300 or $400 per night. And
Per year. So it's the fee that some of the towns are charging it's an annual permit at $100 a bedroom. That's their annual permit fee.
oh, I should be.
So my question would be is if they're renting these out, technically, they would be the subject to declaring rooms and meals. Same as any hotel or any other place, even though it's, so if they're
Not
not,
necessarily, Joe, because if they rent it out with kitchen facilities and the people cook their own meals, then it's not rooms and meals. It's if you had a room in your house that you wanted to let out and you included breakfast, for instance,
yeah,
as part of the deal, then you're subject to rooms and meals.
because the original terms were bed and breakfast. So you would stay there and usually get one meal and they
Right.
were good.
Yeah.
One you maybe, well, there'll be another one, I think, happening here in town. I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
It's really, it's off of McKinley Avenue, but I've heard that the old Cynics residents, the folks that have that are planning then to turning that into an Airbnb.
Well, the old Ruggiero, right on Lester Lane right on the corner of Grove, and that's now an Airbnb.
But you know where Seneca's house was out back there, that big place, the folks that own that are, that's what I heard from one of the neighbors, so. Anyway,
So the question is for the board, you've seen, you're looking at this, you see the addresses involved. Would you like the planning commission to take a look at this and recommend an ordinance or a policy?
well, you know, it's funny, Don, we had this discussion yesterday at the highway meeting about ordinances and policies. Policies are how you do things, but there's no ramifications if you don't. An ordinance is regulatory, and so
Right.
if you were going to do this and people didn't abide or didn't comply with it, then you would have some kind of penalty that would go with it. A policy may or may not have that same. So how do we normally generate an ordinance? Does it usually go through the planning commission first and then come to us? Or Bill comes up with a template from somebody and then somebody looks at?
I mean, I can talk about this now or I can talk about it later. So I talked with one of the Killington, I forget his name right off, but I talked to one of the select board members from Killington who is serving as their interim town planner. Because their town plan, they don't have a town planner right now. The short-term rental program is built into their zoning regulations right now. And they are in the process of removing it from zoning and putting it as an ordinance because of the enforcement part of it. It's easier to enforce as an ordinance. They are having the ordinance drafted by an attorney right now, who also happens to be our attorney. So Kevin's working on the ordinance for them right now. So there will be one that we could potentially
Copy, look at, or.
Town of Plymouth also has an ordinance that they have enacted.
so there's a few I'm finding. There is a Vermont short-term rental association, which a property owner can join and gives them resources. There's a whole database on towns that are have that, tells towns which ones they are. It's pretty complicated. Some services like Airbnb, they have a Vermont Department of Tax ID that the homeowner can use, and they pay the tax on the homeowner's behalf. Some services do not, but if they use one that does not, they need to get their own. So they have to pay. So there are some different things that go into this. It does get a little intricate depending upon what service they use can affect whether the person's responsible on their own or it's paid through the service. So the list I gave you is purely on one rental service right now. In the gentleman from Killington who was, we're going to get back together and have more conversations. They have a vendor who manages the registration process for them, because they have over 700 units in Killington, individual ones. So I've got like 18 right now. I think it's something that would be worthwhile knowing. There are a lot of implications for highway and police and fire, and I mean, it kind of starts getting around when we look at some of the impacts of these things. And one of the things that Killington has said is they have a requirement for Division of Fire Safety to inspect any home with more than 8 people. They're taking that out and they're going to make them all get inspected to meet life safety code. So those are things they can put in the ordinance, which is one of the things he says is helpful to them. So there's a lot that gets into this, but so I think it's worthwhile for the planning commission to kind of take and look at the different towns and see what's out there and help put one together. But certainly going to be some more work for me, but I think in the end it's going to be worthwhile to have this information and to know it.
I can see some fairly severe implications of this in residential neighborhoods. I mean, we don't have zoning, but we certainly do have residential neighborhoods that have been established
Yeah.
not to provide for 14 people in a house, all having cars going back and forth to Killington to ski or wherever.
Yeah.
And you're talking about putting a lot of travel pressure on a neighborhood highway system.
Yep.
And
Yeah, but how's an ordinance gonna limit that?
It won't, but it'll make you aware of it. And,
yeah,
We can, because they put in things, they talk about when you have this, if you have an
Yeah,
ordinance to
it's
govern the
already
program, then you can say
This
there
neighborhood.
is no on-street parking allowed. You must have a parking space for every vehicle to be off the road. And that can get into like the enforcement. So it does help, but if we don't know, we don't know. Like the other side of this is there's some of these houses sleep 14 people. And if there's a fire at one of these houses, not expecting necessarily 14 people to be in one building at the same time. So there's other implications, and this house may not be designed for it. There could be, Killington said they've had issues with some of the septics, wastewater.
Well, that's the other thing.
People they're far exceeding that.
it's only gonna get worse.
He said
Well-
initially, the renters in Killington were not really in favor of this. He says, but they found that it actually levels the playing field because it forces people to step up, and it's kind of gotten some people that were not being forthcoming about what they were doing to have to be on the level about it. So it's really helped, and he said it's something that you want to have control over before it gets out of hand.
Because, for what Bill mentioned about life safety, if I understand right, a rental property, long-term rental, there are certain requirements that you have to have. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you're renting out for 3, 4 or a week folks to stay, you're gonna have to meet some of those same requirements, smoke detectors, CO detectors, means of egress, stuff like that. Cause like he said, you show up to a house and it's a big house, but you don't expect there to be 14 people in that house.
And the other thing, Joey, is if
And
they
then
have
the septic tank.
fireplaces and stuff and they don't understand, that's potential for fires, getting out
There's
of
a lot of
hand.
things. I think the way to go is, let the planning commission look at it, and maybe they can take a look at the ordinance that's being drafted for Killington, since our attorney's doing it, and see how it applies.
The fire safety already has developed checklists and resources for these things. So,
Yeah.
and which through some of these programs are required to be posted in the unit. So, for some of these permit fees, as we get down the road, it would probably be appropriate for someone from the town, won't say me yet, but someone from the town to go and do an inspection on these and
Health officer, JP's had to do this for
Yeah,
the
so, I
rentals
mean,
for a while. That was part of his.
that too. So, but
Yeah.
just using the straight formula that is out there, I mean, we have 55 bedrooms listed on this list right now. So that's $5,500 worth of fees that could offset the labor expense that's in regulating this.
Well, that's provided we did the fee structure that they have.
Sure, I mean,
There's nothing to
that's-
say that we can't have a fee structure that's higher than that either.
Well, yeah, there's that seems like a pretty reasonable expense. Looking at some of the prices that are out there for these, that's not an unreasonable expense. But the genesis of this is I was looking. We had a past due sewer account, and one of these houses happened to be on the list, and I found the owner on here and was able to message them and get it cleared up, and that kind of opened the door. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I fixed one problem, but
Found another.
I'm gonna create another one. But I was talking with Lyle Jepson from the chamber, and he said about a year ago there were probably 100 Airbnb units in the county. He says now there's over 1,000 easily. So
Yeah, it's not gonna get any better.
it's
And,
not-
to echo what Joe said, on fire safety alone, there's got to be some kind of an exterior notification to a fire department or
Well, you gotta know what the
Or-
building is used for.
some kind of a certificate that's put in the fire department with an address that indicates that there's that many people in the building. because
Potential for that.
Got to have that.
So that's where the ordinance versus the policy, the ordinance comes in, and that just becomes, this is a regulatory thing. So my thought would be to have the planning commission just take off with this and let them, I'll see them in about 48 hours, and we'll, talk about, going from there. I mean, this is a brand new topic for everybody, so it's gonna try and figure out where we're gonna go from here, but
Is the board okay with that?
I am. I think
Refer
that's a
it-
good way to go.
Refer it to the planning commission?
Yes, and every time we send yet another ordinance to them, we're tippy-toeing around whether we should have a zoning ordinance. So I'll just say again, we're avoiding the issue and we're piecemealing things. But I'm fine with looking into this Airbnb short-term rental ordinance. And I would say ordinance rather than policy, because we want something enforceable.
Right.
Yeah.
You
And
okay with that, Barb? We just gave you another job.
I think I asked for it, right?
Yeah, I
Or
think so. Every
I
time you
wasn't-
sign on, you ask for it.
I wasn't gonna say that. But you got it anyway. So, yeah, I would get right on that if you could, Barb. I mean,
Yeah.
we should do it because this list is not going to get any less. And,
Mhm.
you know,
This is
there's,
just one service.
yeah,
That's not even close to all of them. Yeah, so.
so,
Bill, would you forward this cover page onto Chris? So he's aware of it, that these are there. And I mean, that'll be our part to start with. So you guys will know that these are there.
okay, Barb,
Okay.
still yours.
Yeah, so just one more thing. It looks like we need to pull back the permit tracking ordinance just to make a small change. Our resident legal expert, no names named, but found that there is something in there that probably should come out, and it concerns enclosing animals. And we probably don't have statutory authority to do that. So we'd like to look at that again. And so we'll just keep the permit tracking ordinance in a little bit of limbo.
It exists right now. What you're talking about is some potential changes to it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
my
but
goats,
we
thank
we
you.
didn't catch that old language.
Doesn't tell you got to keep them in the house with you.
Okay.
or what?
No way.
Mary, how many goats do you have now?
5.
Do they any?
They don't build their own fences, so.
No, they tear them down.
Yep. Barbara, do you want to take up, I mean, the Energy Committee did meet. Barbara has outlined, most of what we discussed, but there was one more thing from the Energy Committee, and that was the opportunity for some grant money. You want to touch on that? We did have that discussion.
Yeah, I've brought it up before. It's really progressing very slowly.
Okay.
But all municipalities in the state are eligible to apply for funding. The first facet of it would be to do some educational type work with residents. The second facet is to get an audit done. And the third facet would be some projects. It's $45 million total. Sounds like a lot of money, but every municipality in the state is eligible to apply. And it will be weighted on the energy burden that each town faces. And there was a report done a couple of years ago by Efficiency Vermont that rated the towns. And Rutland Town is in the middle, is in the moderate category. So the high energy burden towns will get preference when it comes to the projects and maybe even in the assessments. Its details are still very sketchy, but there is a fair amount of money there. I've gotten some through the Regional Planning Commission. We're coordinating the work in the county. I've gotten the information from Bill for some Rutland Town buildings to get into the process and see where it goes.
How about the new building?
No new buildings, unfortunately.
We tried.
Yeah.
Can't.
No.
Nice try though. And we tried.
Okay. Well, we certainly could use it downstairs because this is an existing building.
Correct. Thank you.
And there's some
Okay.
federal money coming. There's DOE money coming. We haven't quite figured out, the Regional Planning Commission, how to divvy that up. That's only going to be $76,000 to spread around the county. But then Then today, EPA announced through the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed 6 months ago, there will be money for climate resilience planning in the state of Vermont and on the municipal level, if you want. So
I mean, we could
there's-
actually pay in order to get an earlier spring and a lot less severe winter and things like that? Is that, I don't understand what that means, but
you wouldn't have to pay. You would, be done for you. Just be best guesses right now what will work, to kind of tackle the impacts that we're seeing from climate change. And when we're talking about river corridors, that might be one of them that's separate from any of this funding. But that's something the Planning Commission is looking at right now too. So look at the impacts, what you think of the impacts of climate change, and what kind of planning you want to do. Or do you want to actually build some projects to tackle the issues? So just the spigot of money coming through, from the federal government and from the state is just extraordinary now. It's a little overwhelming. But it's all a good thing, right?
So no action items from the Energy Committee. It's just moving on a number of different fronts. And thank you, Barb, for monitoring all of this for us. We will apply when things open up.
We'll let you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
good job, Energy Committee. That it, Barb?
That's it. Yep.
Well, you got a lot on your plate, so, we
We just put more
we
on.
appreciate your hard work. And
Okay.
thank you very much and happy Valentine's Day.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Is Mike on? I didn't see him. Probably working. JP's not on. And so Carrie Clark. No, I did not have to wake her up. She had her eyes closed, but she was awake back there.
No, I wasn't sleeping.
Good evening, Carrie.
Hi,
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
it is. Thank you. You too. Here is, if you want to just do the whole pass along, take one and pass
Sure.
along.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I just passed out, I'll briefly go over. We received our, what would technically be our third installment for local options money. I know that this is a little tricky and I need to revamp the way that this is laid out, but I just plugged in the number for our purposes tonight. But for people who can't see this, we have received third installment of $400,427.72. So we are already over what we anticipated in our fiscal year budget for this year. We've collected $45,000 more than what we anticipated, and we still have one installment left to go. So this is great news for
Yeah.
the town of Rutland.
Which means that we anticipate for the last period, the 349.
Our last period will be, we'll get it in May. Do you see where the
the blank
blank
is.
is? Yeah. So anything that we get is
Is already
extra.
over.
It's extra, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the minimum would be somewhere in the range of 300,000.
That's right.
Probably.
That's
Plus
right.
the 45 that we're,
That's right.
so we're on track to get pretty much what we got last year.
Doing well. Doing well. I thought that would be some good news for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you
Okay.
Look around and thinking 100 ways you can spend that. But one comes up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
one does come to
One
mind.
comes right to mind, but anyway, that's good. We got to thank people for shopping and doing what they do in Rutland town.
Exactly. You know, it's our residents and people who are, it's not even our residents, it's people who are using the stores and,
Areas, yeah.
yeah, everything that's in
Just
town.
One thing I've always wanted to clarify with the 1%. Is it just on the sales tax or did we opt for the,
No, we get the other two.
for the rooms and meals, right? Right.
Yeah. it's
So
broken down.
when you think about this, we get nothing now from Holiday Inn.
Mhm.
If you figure these figures are over, if Holiday Inn was operating as a motel like it should be, this number could be quite significantly more.
Instead
I
of
mean,
donating
the
to
amount that, you know,
the
not
downtown.
only the cost that facility is costing us, given that it's a homeless shelter, but the cost of the non-revenue is, you know, sometimes it's like, man, it's,
And Joe, you got to think of this too. You're talking about the rooms and meals that we're not getting. But if you swap the people that are there now for transient residents that are hotel guests,
right.
they would be shopping over there and we would get the 1% on everything that they bought over in the plazas.
I mean, the cost to the town is enormous, that nobody's ever even thought about. I mean, I didn't think about that till you just brought it up, but
Right.
it's like, man. But anyway, it's just people should be aware. I wish JP was here to discuss, and I don't want to interrupt you,
You're
but since
fine.
we were just talking about Cortina, the emails that we all received from his inspection down there.
Mhm.
I sent him a text and told him the next time he has to go out one of these, he should bring a news team with him from Channel 3. And the people in the state of Vermont should see how those people are being forced to live. It's disgraceful, but anyway, sorry, Carrie.
Oh, no,
I get going.
I completely agree with the
Yeah.
subject, what you're talking about, and you can
So,
talk as much as you
yeah.
want. So kind of switching gears a little bit, into my office. My third employee started last week. So, she wasn't able to come here and be introduced, but she is willing to do that at some point. She does have little kids, so I kind of,
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, really little kids. So she, she has to go home and take care of them. But she's a fantastic fit. If you ever have a chance to come in and say hello to her, her name's Taylor. She's already done a phenomenal job. She is just, it seems very natural, like she's always been here. So I'm just so thankful for her. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone to come and say hello to her. You have liquor license renewals on your desk, Dawn. There's only
do.
one copy. There are 3 past vendors that are requesting renewals. Again, in a
just
very
the-
different form.
Just the ones that are highlighted are the ones that are looking for
Yeah,
renewals.
Yeah, right now. Again, to recap very quickly, there's a new process online for not only the businesses side of this, but the clerk side as well. And we're managing on my side. I'm sure that the people that are asking for renewals are managing on their side too. It's definitely a different process. So instead of getting the actual application that you have in the past where you all sign it, which I enjoyed, you're getting a list and basically putting your signature on it if you agree. And then I go into the portal and either accept or reject each one. And then I do have, it's weird because they have to send them physical money too. So
Where does this signed copy?
I'm keeping
up?
the signed copy right now in a folder because we're in that time of renewals, but we have a binder in the office where we have kept all of the renewals. It's on our shelf. Anyone can look at it. It's behind Susan. And that's where that will live. It just won't look as pretty as it has in the past.
Okay, so, for the board, and for Ed, we have an application for renewal from Jolly Associates. We have three actually from Jolly. A second-class license, a tobacco license, and a tobacco substitute endorsement. Have there been any problems with Jolly Associates?
What's the address?
They don't give the address.
Don't even
on
give
that.
an address anymore.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, so we used to have all that information.
I know.
Yeah, tell me
I can
about it.
tell you
Nope.
that all of them are previous. There's no one, no.
Yeah,
new.
but it's the Shell station by Home Depot, isn't it?
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's what, Kurt?
I think it's the Shell station by Home Depot is the Jolly.
Okay.
and we have three from Midway. Tobacco substitute endorsement, tobacco license, and a second-class license. Are there any problems with? No problems with
They're just
Midway?
over here. Are they?
Midway,
Midway?
that should be the one on,
That's on
that's the one in front of.
Route 7.
Yeah, the one in
Okay.
front of Midas, yeah. That's the other one.
And the last one is from JW Sandry Incorporated, and that's a tobacco license and a tobacco substitute endorsement permit.
That's the
Any
one.
problems with Sandry? So no problems from law enforcement with any of these.
Okay, so move, we approve all of them. Do we all want to sign or do we just authorize you to sign?
Oh, there's plenty of room on here. Let's all sign it.
Pass it around.
Fine.
You got one sheet, it's not like an individual sheet like
It's
for each
not.
one. Yeah, so we just got one sheet and we're saying, okay,
Yeah,
I don't like the blanket coverage thing,
I don't either, but
but that it is
not
what
our,
it is.
not our deal.
All right, I second Mary's motion.
Motion's made
Oh, sorry.
and seconded to sign the applications of all of these, or approve all of these applicants. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Those are
None
disapproval of the format,
Me too.
but nobody listened. You know,
We withheld the money.
Maybe you get this.
It's probably one of the worst changes I have seen that's supposed to
make it better.
make it
Help.
better.
You ever notice that sometimes stuff coming from Mount Perry fixes one thing and breaks six others?
I'm noticing that recently
Yeah,
a lot.
It's not.
And it's not just my-
bureaucracy.
it's-
sort of the-
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this better. It's
It's
Well,
six-
you
the-
know, when you look
It's
at-
what I said about the trickle down effect of us changing the date for the
I know.
townwide celebration. They changed this in Montpelier because it is easier for somebody somewhere. But the people gathering the raw data and doing this like we're doing, it's like, it's made it way worse because you don't have what you should have.
you don't have, no.
Nope. But
So thank you for that. I just had two very quick reminders. One being, the dog registrations are still open. I have not seen a whole lot of people come in and register their dogs, and I know there are several dogs out in the town of Rutland. I think I've only sold 30 tags.
The deadline's April first.
The deadline's April
Yeah,
1st.
I gotta get my dog in for her rabies shot, so. sorry.
I'm just saying it because usually at this time, we're seeing a lot more traffic for the dogs. And it just doesn't make I don't think that many dogs died in a year. So, just a little small reminder out there that, that is one of the things that we need to do again for the state of Vermont. And if you own a dog in town, it's a good idea that you come by and pay the very small fee to get the tag. It's worth it. You don't know what will happen throughout the year. It's helpful.
It is helpful.
It's not like we're after your dog. It's not like we're after you. It's helpful. So basically that's that. lastly, March town meeting day. A quick reminder, because I'm trying to put it out there on every platform. I have an article in the Circle explaining the town meeting as usual, and explaining the absentee ballots very quickly, because I had some questions from odd source this week. And I'll put it out there. This is the only election that we're having in 2023 is the town meeting. It's not where all ballots are being sent to you, because this is our election. It's not something run by the state. So if you would like a ballot sent to your home, please give us a call. And our number is the regular number, and request it. Today, we got our ballots in the mail. It's kind of late from the vendor, but we got them, and we're starting our first batch of absentee ballots tomorrow, and it's very small. So we haven't received a lot of requests. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I'm getting it out there as much as possible. But we will be open on a polling day as usual, so be looking for the article if you need any more information. Apparently, the school needed some information, so.
That's very good. Just to repeat, remember, if you want an absentee ballot, you must request one, because one will not automatically be sent to you. So
And this is the ballot that, as town residents, you get to vote on your budget and on the school budget and on the people that work for you. So
We're back
Do
to
your
normal,
best.
actually, Carrie.
I'm sorry.
We're back to normal.
Okay.
Prior to COVID, this is the way it was always done. You come in and vote, or you request a ballot.
Absolutely.
Nobody's sending you one. So
Absolutely.
COVID really has messed that up for you.
It has, but this is the only one this year, so we won't have to deal with the other part for a little bit, but I don't know. It's been a little quiet in the office, a little too quiet, so I'm wondering.
oh, come on now. That means you get all that work done that you wanted to get done.
Hey, that's okay. I'm just very,
When all of a sudden, like a week before, and then it's got like 900 requests. Yeah.
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 or people are gonna say that I hadn't put the information out there, and it's on
Done the
every
best you can.
platform, so
Um,
that's all I have.
Go.
have you posted it on our website?
That information,
Yes.
I don't know, have we? I can put it on Facebook
Yep.
on that platform,
Yep. So
and certainly can do it on
On the website.
on the
too.
website.
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
I just think that those are two avenues. we
yeah.
have here, So,
Absolutely.
and I think it's going to take people a little while to realize that we're moving slowly back to
Well, for
what
this
used to be
election,
normal, at least.
yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a nasty thing that it's still gonna be the whole November sending to everyone, but
We'll see.
we'll deal
That's
with
not
that when
this
it
year
comes.
anyway.
Right.
Any other questions for Carrie?
Nope.
Thanks, Carrie.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Ed Dumas, our police chief. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for being the stand-up guy on the thing there.
So first, calls for service. Any question on them?
Looks like south of the city occupied your time.
It does. Yeah, retail thefts are down though. I do have I'll bring it next time, updates for January. I think we had 71 calls for service in the south end, which is more than the other 2 years, but it's less than the previous few months we had there. But I guess a few key players in the retail theft business are now in jail. Some may have perished in the last few weeks, so I know it's down just a little bit. So the other thing is Lynn, we had her FBI audit. Has spent months dealing with that, and we got a clean bill of health and we're set to go. So
Yay.
thanks to Lynn.
Nice,
That's taken
nice.
care of.
She
Other than
does
that-
good work.
Yeah, she does. Other than that, I don't have that.
Are you still pursuing the replacement vehicle? Have you?
Yeah,
We talked about that.
we ordered it.
Okay.
What's that?
We ordered it.
You ordered it?
Yep.
Okay.
we did. You missed it last meeting?
Yes, I did.
So yeah, we went to the Dodge dealership here in Rutland and they gave it to us $6,000 less than anybody else. So
Okay.
we called them up and told
It's similar to what we have. Did you get a car or truck this
we
time?
got the Durango.
Oh, okay.
There's some talk about getting a Prius, but we're not gonna go for that.
No, I don't think so. I know you had mentioned about looking at maybe getting a pickup originally.
We couldn't get a pickup because they're not, their manufacture dates are a year out or something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's good.
You know, those electric cars are pretty torquey.
Yeah.
They get up and go real quick.
Yeah, we're middle of a chase, gotta stop now, get charged battery.
They don't come,
I'm
they don't
not
come with a backup battery, do they?
Roof.
Yeah.
Fire it
They
up.
don't come with a backup battery.
It'd be like a
That'd be
light,
about
you go up and that's
20,000
up
for a backup battery.
I don't,
So how is that different from stopping and filling up with gas?
Well,
It's the mileage you can get.
yeah, it's, I don't know, have you ever had to stop in the middle of a pursuit and put gas in the car?
no, I usually.
I will tell you this story. I will tell you this story. We did run out of gas one night going, or one day going to a fire call with a truck.
No, kidding.
Yeah,
Doing a what?
going to a fire call, we did run out of fuel
you
with the
didn't do it
gas with the
twice.
fire truck because the gauge was faulty. And we
Oh,
were
no.
coming in, it's when Panos had the gas station on North Main Street, and that truck, I think, chugged and sputtered in there on the dry gas. We thought it was running out of gas the night before, so we put dry gas in it. And the next day we went to Metro Mail and we had to pull in and get gas on the way to Metro Mail. That's kind of embarrassing, but you know, that's what happens.
I think the protocol probably changed a
And,
little bit after.
and I was the lieutenant in charge of the trucks at the time, and the captain who was driving the truck was not happy when he arrived at the scene. But anyway, so
Tales from the vault.
that was, it's things, oops,
So there.
Okay, I'm good.
thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Moving along.
Bill Sweet, you're up. I think we covered a lot of your stuff, didn't we?
I hope
I think we did. Maybe.
You have covered a lot of it. One thing, if we could just help someone online real quick, is the new business B, the municipal impact questionnaire. We have Stephen Diglio represents the CAS Consulting. He is on the call. If you have any questions for him. So that's letter B in the packet. That's the municipal impact questionnaire for the Killington Heights Act 250 permit.
Have you solicited all of the department
I
heads?
have.
Okay, very good. And no, they don't see any.
Shockingly, there's no objection to this. It's yes.
It's very controversial.
Always best to do it in advance, though, rather than go and then, you know.
A little late. But
Yeah.
So I move we authorize the issuance of a municipal impact questionnaire indicating that there is no impact on the municipality.
second.
Yeah, because Dave already weighed in on it.
Yeah. he
Is there
did.
one signature?
yes.
Yeah, and that we authorize Don to sign on behalf of the town.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the municipal impact questionnaire for the Cross Mountain Capital. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a vote. And
If you could sign the copy that's in the folder, that would be
yeah,
helpful.
that's, I see that didn't have anything on it.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for your patience waiting around just for a yes vote here.
I just want to make sure you guys didn't need to have any
Had to warn
questions.
them.
That's all.
All right. And so a couple other things. So we have the correspondence from the ACLU is in your packet also.
Is that anything we need to?
What we have done in the past when we've received something from them, we take a look at the ordinance. When at least one case, they were right, we repealed the ordinance and that took care of that.
Or is that something we need to
This is
forward
one
to
we do
Kevin or
need to-
should?
We do need to, we can send it to Kevin. And just ask him to take a look. We should let the ACLU know that we have done so. We sent it on to our town attorney.
I can do that.
Thank you. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you, Mayor.
I think that's a good suggestion.
I do too. So I'll take care of that. So I, as Dave was talked about, there's a grant opportunity through AARP for a couple items. Ethan from the Regional Planning Commission has offered to help us write the grant application for it. And there's two items that we could specifically look at. One is the beacons, the flashing lights for a crosswalk, which we could ask for the one in front of Town Hall to help people that are crossing the road there. The other one they do is permanent speed detection signs, which we talked about for the town school. We're hopeful we can kind of relate it to the population that they're going for, but that may be a little more challenging, but we're going to try. We're going to see. There's no match to the grant. There's no cost to apply. So it's worth a shot. If we get it, if we don't, we've got nothing ventured, nothing
We have
gained.
seniors who walk up there and they use the school facilities and they go to their grandchildren's sporting events. So that's what
And I would be one of them.
Well, we're gonna give it a good try. So I'm meeting with him next week to do that. So it's a couple weeks the applications are doing a couple weeks. There's a grant award, there's a whole timeline, but it has to be done before the end of this year. So it does have to be like ready to go, which both of these are pretty easy to accomplish. So wouldn't be a very complicated thing. He and I are also going to do a after action review of JP's sidewalk grant application.
Good.
Because they weren't able to help us do it last time, but we still got it. So he's going to look at it and prepare. I've already got him reserved for the next round. So when it comes available again, we'll be able to do that. So
Do you need any authorization to apply for the two AARP grants?
if you'd like to, there's no town funds are going to be allocated to it. So
I just wondered if there needed to be a signature or something.
not yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to meet with him next week. If we do, we have 2 meetings
Okay, we're
before
good.
that, so we'll be okay. Marty and I are going to Green Mountain Power tomorrow. We have our next Chittenden Reservoir Emergency Action Plan meeting for the if the Chittenden Dam ever had a catastrophic failure, what happens to the community? It's not good. But we're meeting tomorrow to the next phase of that, so we'll be there. It's an interesting topic, but yeah, big deal. Town report should be in mailboxes fairly soon. We have copies here we got last week. We've already started to distribute some. So I was pretty surprised. We got it in about 5 days from when we approved it. It was in the building. So that was pretty good. So that's done and available. Anybody wants a copy right away, they can come here and get it, but they'll be in mailboxes any day.
Nice job, Bill.
Thank you.
Very well done.
I was happy to see it here. So we ordered the same amount this year that we did last year, and last year's report we ended up with probably about 20 extra copies, 30 extra copies. So it's just about right. So that's perfect. So we've got some years we've had cases and cases of extra ones. So we did cut back a little bit, but we haven't gotten the bill for it yet, but we don't expect to be any problem.
Can I ask, how often do you go and catch the new people who need to get a town report or a copy of the Circle?
So the mailing list for the town report is the voter list.
Okay,
So that gets Carrie Susan, one of them gives me a spreadsheet of, we take a snapshot that day, that's it. So that list gets updated regularly. So but that's why we always have copies in 2 or 3 locations here. So if people are coming in, usually the tax payment days see a velocity of them going out the door, which fine, but they're always available here if people want a copy. So we get a day where we can pick the mailing lists for that, and that's what goes out.
no, I've visited with a couple of folks new to town and they hadn't received the Circle. I just wanted to make sure that somehow they got picked up on the list.
I don't know, does Janelle get a new list each time she?
So they're new.
Yeah.
And they need to register to vote in order to. on the mailing list for each of those things.
Okay.
Report, because that's where it's generated. He's right, it's a snapshot in time.
Mhm.
And each time Janelle does the circle, it's a snapshot then too.
Okay,
It's not once for the entire year, for the
Okay.
circle, it's each.
okay. I'll let these folks know they should register to vote.
Yep.
Okay. thank you.
The latest edition of the Circle is online, but it's not out in the mail yet, but it is available on the website, but nowhere else yet. And the old business item, the CAI technology agreement for the listers cards online. I followed up with them after our last conversation,
Mhm.
and he says if we would like to move forward, it's about a 3-month process to build the information to get ready to go. So he says they're absolutely fine with, if we want to sign the agreement, they'll do the work and they'll invoice us in July. And I mean, it's going to be end of May, early June before they're done with it anyway. But he said there's no issue with signing it, and then they'll invoice us in July when
Yeah,
the
what was that? What was the contract?
CAI technology.
first
How
year,
much was it?
6,000 for the first year, because it's a $3,000 annual,
Okay.
and then but it's a $3,000
Maintenance.
creation fee or
All right.
origination
I
fee.
did not have a chance to noodle around with it, but Marcia seems to think they're good vendors, so I would move we approve the
Motion.
contract for CAI for the online lister cards.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the CAI Technologies contract for $6,000 for the internet service contract. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, there's 4 lines here. I guess I'll just sign on the bottom and you all can sign it.
The last thing I had, we have been slowly working through the plans downstairs. We've talked about that a while ago, having Otter Creek Engineering do the scanning for us. They have been doing that. We've gone through, there are some plans that are irrelevant, that were drafts, and there's new plans. There is a tremendous amount of old information downstairs, but I've been going through pulling out the ones that don't apply, still having some of them scanned, and the ones we've had scanned, I've probably had half a dozen of the ones we've had scanned. People have come in and say, hey, I'm looking for information on this. I'm like, I got it. And it was right there. So it's been really, really useful. They've got a big group right now, probably about half to 2/3 of the way through the group downstairs that we're going to have scanned. We had approved an amount. It was a while ago, but it wasn't, we haven't really been spending a lot of money on it. The last bill we got was for about $800, and it was a fairly substantial pile that we had scanned. So, I would like permission just to keep going with this. I can't really tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. It's not going to be a large amount of money, but we've already gotten our money's worth out of it just in the plans we've been able to come up with. My next thing after we finish the plans downstairs, I would like to have the septic plans that we have on file. We have 20 years of septic plans scanned. I still get phone calls from realtors and property owners. They're only available in paper format, and I'd like to work on getting those scanned so they become an available database and that we can use going forward. So
So the original papers of what we're having scanned, what are we doing with those? Just
they are in a filing cabinet right now. They will stay in a filing cabinet. We're not going to get we're not
retain.
we are not getting rid of
It's just-
any of the stuff we've scanned. We're not getting rid of, but it becomes a retrieval.
Yeah.
It's
way
easier for a retrieval.
Right.
To,
And eventually, if somebody wanted that stuff, someday it'll be available electronically without driving here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting
there.
closer,
We're
We
getting
are.
there.
you know. And you know, it's a direction we need to go in.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been
We need to have
it's
those
been very
records
helpful.
available. I mean,
Um,
probably the best thing that's come out of COVID is the remote ability to access meetings and data.
Yep.
And we need to, and it's making people's lives
Yep.
easier.
Well, I I get several requests, people looking, they need to get their septic tank pumped and do you have my records? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but the process of having these things scanned, just the property maps and other data has been really, really useful. So. Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue working on it. So that's not, it's not going to be all at once. It's going to take a little time because
Yeah,
there's a
no,
lot to go
that's
through,
good
but
stuff.
it's a really good resource. So. That.
Thank you to
is
Otter
everything I have.
Creek Engineering for being willing to
No,
do
this
that.
is E, but that doesn't correspond with E on,
It does not, but in your index, it does.
okay,
That's the information from the ACLU.
okay.
Yep.
You already talked about that.
You're gonna talk about that?
You already did.
We already did.
We already did.
Done.
Okay, we're gonna
Done
send
and
it
over.
to
Taken care of.
We're gonna have Kevin look. There was it's a review of our
Yeah.
ordinance and the ALCU says it's not, we're in violation of the 14th Amendment.
What we did was adopted the then template from the League of Cities and
When did
Towns.
we do that?
Well, you were
I
signing
don't have a
something.
copy of any ordinance about
I
that.
think while you were signing.
I don't know that we discussed it. It was all.
That's four of
Hold
them.
on.
And you agreed to it.
What have you been sniffing?
I hereby thank the board for taking care of this unfinished business.
Anytime,
We're very efficient.
we are.
So
Anyway.
I guess that's it.
Many of us were Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
There you go.
Move, we adjourn.
Is there
Try that.
any other new business, old business?
I think we're good. We did the committee,
Yeah,
right?
we
We
did
got through all
'cause
those.
Energy Barbara did
Yeah,
this.
and you did, so we're all done there.
And Bill, you had a request for these bid documents today, or
I did, yes.
so you're gonna have, since we've,
That sheet, okay?
They're public.
yeah, just send this sheet, that's fine.
We're, it's all,
And anybody else that requests that information, you can
All
give
out
them
there.
that sheet,
Okay.
public information now.
at this point. Well,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There it is. We're,
Okay.
oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Jim Schultz requested to just address the board on his pending resignation. And they had a dinner engagement because unlike me, he did invite his wife to dinner tonight, so
God bless him.
they were late. Hi, Ann. So Jim,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
no, that's fine.
we've had a long evening this evening.
Yes. So, as you all have had in your possession, my letter of resignation, which comes effective the 31st of March. I would, be willing to, work with whoever gets appointed to get them up to speed before they actually have to, engage in this, endeavor. And, that's not the usual thing that happens. I think when it comes through for elections, if somebody wins over somebody who's been doing it, it usually gets handed the list of people and that's it, and they learn how to do it themselves. So this will offer an opportunity for the town to be ahead a little, doing a little speedier, up, bringing the person up to speed a little quicker. So I was wondering where the board might be on appointing someone.
So I would move that we solicit candidates who are interested in taking over the position of delinquent tax collector, as we do for vacant positions.
Right.
And invite people to apply. And then we can appoint, and then pending the next election, they would be running. So that's how that would work.
Yeah.
So, but we haven't done that piece, and thank
What's
you
the
for
time
reminding.
frame, Mary, that you
Well-
would suggest for notification? I mean, you're gonna put an
open.
ad out and
Yeah,
well, if we put it out, get it out within the next week.
put it
say,
out 2 weeks.
Put it
notice.
out, notice that, yeah, within, so I would say around maybe the first meeting of March.
we could
That's
do
a
that.
month
Yeah,
from now.
that
We
would be
may, we,
good.
we review the applicants or have them. That gives us time to do it. and
Would he? No, but should he put the notice out in the papers twice?
We have to put it, we put it in the paper, right, Bill?
We do.
Yeah, and
So,
on our website and on our Facebook page.
yeah, so
Okay.
you know the routine, right? So
Yep.
you're authorized to do it.
How-
According to,
However,
yes,
we can't, you couldn't take any action. Well, if we put it out, then you're gonna. What's the time frame again? You say 2 weeks by the,
I said,
start the interview process then, but you can't do any appointments until his resignation is effective, which is the 31st of March.
right, so we would interview the applicants and
Gives
then,
us plenty of
and then
time.
we pick one who would be appointed to delinquent tax collector pending the resignation on 31st of March. So
Uh,
that gives somebody a chance to, you
What
know,
I,
and if we do it sooner than later, like if we appointed a candidate to take that position, the 1st of April, Jim could technically work with him for a couple of weeks there before he resigns, and then April 1st, he's free as a bird. He could leave. You could work with.
well, that's
some-
that's what I was,
Yeah.
trying to get clear was, I would, in order to train them, I still need to be the collector of delinquent taxes, so legally I have access to all the information and doing the stuff, and they just tag along to learn. So if I'm resigned on the 31st, April 1, I won't have the ability to do any of this anymore. So you'd need to appoint somebody by the 15th, say, of March.
So the board meets on the 14th of March.
Yep.
You
Okay.
Make the
so-
appointment
So
yeah.
we'd be all set.
and you're all set. You
Yeah.
got a couple of
Okay.
weeks to work with them and.
You're gonna be traveling.
And then.
I'm gonna be doing things, that's for sure. Yeah.
Where are you going first?
Down to the Carolinas to visit some friends.
Good for you. You're gonna cross country?
Should have those requests by.
I don't know.
March 1st.
This-
Quite a trip. I've done 3 times.
Yeah.
I'll give you my son's address in North
Regular
Carolina. You
time.
can stop in and see him.
We
Be happy to host
Yeah.
you.
Trust that they'll apply.
And if they're not, then we
Okay, so now can we,
have one application.
So that,
We're good.
that works well for me and for the
Mhm.
fact that I need to be able to
Yep.
continue doing the work while I'm teaching them how to do it.
Yep.
And then when I'm done, they get the actual oath of office and start doing it because they're appointed. Yeah.
I think we have a good
On
plan.
May-
and good
yeah.
time frame. Thanks for
So,
being part of that.
Bill, are
Yep.
you understanding the plan that was just,
Sounds great.
there you go, all set.
Did we make it too complicated or?
No, it's the same.
So,
Got
Is there any
no
other,
pressure.
and I,
Motion on that, or-
nothing at this point.
anybody have any questions for Jim?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
you.
I will,
We'll
as
be
I
in
start
touch.
training this person, I will want to come together with the personnel committee and then possibly the board about some software that I've developed while I'm doing it to make my job easier and that kind of thing. So, we'll see how that all runs with training and making sure that the town clerk and treasurer gets reports in a form that is still usable by them. I know when I first started, I gave the information to the clerks and I had to change it 4 or 5 times before they finally had what made it work for them without being overly complicated for them. So.
Okay.
That's where we sit.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Any other business to come before the
Can I make
board?
motion to adjourn?
Motion's already been
Second.
made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? We're done.